Or if you want to take a scarf? Glasses are pretty obvious.
Opportunity for conciliation between Native people and the church. There's a long history of abuse, of neglect, and this is an opportunity.
Grab my sticks over there. Okay. Enough people have.
Morning. Hey, you made it. Good to see you. Oh yeah? Where's that at? Yeah.
It's just a learning experience for not just children.
What happened at it?
And so lastly then, what might happen going forward, or do you have any, what do you think your organization might assist with or do to help, educate people or each other?
Well, one of the things that we're different places of education, including universities.
That's the diocese over there.
It's more helpful as far as Native American contemporary historical issues.
Check it out.
Bring speakers into the tri-state area. We're trying to make, the tri-state area has a tremendously rich history. We want to highlight that. We want to bring that forward in a positive way. Unfortunately, this isn't a positive way for anyone.
So I don't know if anybody's going to reach out to Covington Catholic or, the Archdiocese.
We have sent them some emails. We started reaching out to them at 9 o'clock Saturday morning before this blew up. We were trying to get with them and do dialogue before this became action, before any of this occurred. And that's heard from either the diocese or the school, except for the president.
Stepping aside, as you mentioned, I see you're trying to
members of the Catholic Diocese here in Covington. We were trying to get in and talk to them in the sense that, to find out how we can move ahead. I mean, one of the things that happened is that when we look at everything, when we look at the entirety of it all, there's, people are pointing and blaming each other, but the reality that this is a product of a symptom that is that is growing in this country. And we as the people have to go and put a stop to it. If, you got all these young kids who are saying, let's make America great. Well, yeah, let's do that. And let's stop the hate. Let's stop all of that. Quit pointing fingers. Let's do what's right. What's right for the community. What's right for this country. What's right for the people. In the sense that everybody's entitled to their voice, yes. And I grant that that's what this country was founded on. and that's a good thing. But the reality is this, is that when you have a segment of society who basically wants to create this homogeneic society, and that isn't what made America great. What made America great is the fact that everybody contributed to this nation. At one time, this nation was a country of innovators, inventors. We were leading the world in not only the economy, but in manufacturing, medicine. We were leading that world, but yet what has happened? You know, we've fallen apart. We've divided. And, you know, and that's the whole thing. You know, it's like, so when you have this happen in the sense that, you know, we're pushing people out, we're building walls, and that's a bunch of bullshit. You know, it's like you can't exclude everybody. I can't exclude your rights. I can't exclude her rights or anybody's rights. I should be able to be strong enough to be able to listen and to accept your opinion. And that's one of the things is that accepting one another for who we are. That's what we're trying to perpetuate. You know, there's these atrocities that have taken place. Let's fix them.
What was the diocese's response?
We have not gotten a response from them. And that response is what basically is what we're hoping that, you know, that can happen sometimes this morning. You know, talk to us. Don't shut us out. Don't be building another damn wall. Don't shut us out. We want to go and, you know, this problem that exists in today's society, let's fix it. Let's fix it. You know, and you know, we got to stop this.
What's your ideal outcome that you see coming out of this?
And education. To educate one another. You know what? It's like, you know, several years ago, one of the issues that not only here in Cincinnati, but throughout Ohio, you know, we fixed them. We remedied them by sitting down and talking to one another and working for a common goal. And I mean, you know, and that's what we're looking for. Let's find that common ground that we can all work together to make something better. You know, and that's what we're trying to do.
Can you spell your name and your position?
My name is Guy Jones, Guyjones. I am Hunkpapa Lakota. I'm from Standing Rock Reservation in South Dakota.
How do you spell the name of your tribe?
Hunkpapa, Hunkpapa, Lakota, Lako.
Have you looked
All right. Well, thanks.
I want to thank everybody for coming this morning. I just want to make sure some of us had to take the day off from work. Again, we're going to get started in just a few minutes. But we're just waiting for the drummer to start so we can have our prayer, because we want this to proceed in an honorable way. You know, this is a ceremony. This is a prayer, as well as having a moment to be able to speak about our feelings about the incident that took place, and how this also has brought up issues of historical trauma for the Native community and other indigenous people. So we are going to get started with the prayer in just a moment. I'm going to have Thomas come up here and say a couple things before we get started. And I want to thank the Indiana, Kentucky American Indian Movement chapter and all the coalition of organizations that helped put this on, because this is not just a Native issue. It is not just an indigenous issue. It affects all of us. It affects all of us in not just this community and not just the community in D.C. It affects everybody in the United States and beyond, because it is being internationally watched. And how we conduct ourselves today is going to be internationally watched. So I'm asking all of you to take that responsibility, take a deep breath, and join us in a dignified, respectful, honorable way, so that we can honor that elder, Nathan Phillips, honor all Native elders, honor all Native people, indigenous people, you know, and honor each other as we have this day, okay? So I'm going to have Thomas introduce himself, and we're going to wait for this drummer. And please remember to make a little bit of way for the speakers to be able to come up and stand on this bench so that everybody can see the speakers. Thank you. My name's Corrine Fairbanks. Thank you very much.
Bonjour. My name is Thomas Pierce. I'm co-chair of the American Indian Movement of Indiana and Kentucky. I'm so proud today to see all our people here and all our friends here to support us as we be clear. Let's be very clear here. Donald Trump attacked us last night. We're getting through. Our message is getting through. This is all caused by the climate of racism in this country. Donald Trump is a symptom of racism in this country. What those kids did, they were just doing what their parents taught them. We're here to have a dialogue with the diocese, asking them to hold their chaperones accountable for that should have never happened in D.C. If the chaperones were doing their jobs, that would have never happened. We're asking them to adopt a curriculum that teaches them the kids the true history of the Catholic Church with the indigenous people. We're asking them to teach the true history of the Catholic Church's relationship with all people of color, not just us. Now we're going to have a prayer. We have our drummer come up and we'll make a prayer. But thank you all for coming. I'm very proud today. We've done a great job. We've gotten through. They're listening. Thank you for being here. And thank you to all the press.
Maybe. Yes. There we go.
Thomas Pierce, P-E-A-R-C-E.
Thank you.
How do you telling the kids to go back to Europe?
It wasn't Nathan Phillips.
It's on video. It's on
That's
video.
not true.
It is.
That's
it's on
false.
The 2-hour video.
False.
Absolutely.
Your visa's not ready yet.
It is on video, sir.
It's not.
Sehao matakiape, ishtachba makiape, nyawe scano gogego. My name is Sleepia Laframboise. I'm assistant in Wafton, Dakota, and Tonawanda, Seneca. And this is my Chaske, my son here, Ishtakaba Laframboise. And we were in support of our relatives, our Dakota and Nakota relatives during Standing Rock. And we were fighting for the water with all our indigenous allies a few years ago. So we're very honored to be asked by the Indigenous Peoples Movement to come to Washington, D.C. to say a word of prayer as we started our march this past Friday. So we were there in solidarity with all Indigenous Nation people in alliance. So we were our brother was with Nathan. His name was Keese, and he described and explained everything that happened firsthand. And we were very, I guess you could say, hurt with the treatment of our people. And it's nothing new to us. We have experienced instances exactly what took place the other night. My son, my daughter, and I were singing prayer songs in North Dakota on the Cannonball Reservation in the middle of nowhere, praying and standing up for the water, and we were shot with tear gas, with percussion grenades, rubber bullets, freezing cold water, just for praying, just for singing prayer songs, standing up for the water. So that kind of treatment has been going on since Columbus first came to this country. And regardless of any treatment that our people was faced with, we all always prayed. We always put our Creator first in everything that we did. And Nathan's example of how he handled the situation was an example of the teachings our people have had since the beginning of time. And we always put our Creator first, and that's why for a Catholic church to come and to disrespect us while we're praying, while we're singing prayer songs, is something that needs to change in America, needs to change in the world.
Excuse me, are you saying that they disrespected you first? I'm kind of confused.
We've been disrespected since the beginning of time. So
let's do the prayer.
We're going to go ahead and sing a prayer song here and say a prayer here for the community, for the Catholic Church here, that they will use this opportunity to, there's a word they said, reconciliation with our people, but there's never been a reconciliation. There's a conciliation. That's what we're wanting to establish here, to be able to open up a dialogue with the Catholic Church, with all people of prayer. If you believe in our Creator, if you believe in God, then you have a good heart, you have a good mind, and we know that people believe in justice. So that's how we're going to sing this song here, for healing. This incident had to take place for healing to begin. It's been being established. America, the world is starting to open their eyes, starting to see that there has to be change. Our people have to come together and unite as one. So we're going to sing a prayer song here and say a prayer here, and thank you all for coming here to support. And this is what it's going to take, all of us here coming together and saying a word of prayer.
Big wedge.
Aho. I don't know if we get to stand up here. We can stand up here. So again, we got some medicine here, come from our relatives out in California, and we want this smoke here to travel up to the 4 directions, to go there to our relatives that are in need of prayer. That's how we use a lot of our medicines. We pray for the world, for all mankind, all nations. So we're going to sing this song here.
Do you want pictures taken during the prayer?
You guys are okay while we sing, but when we pray, then you can go ahead and shut your cameras off.
Hey,
Sing that song for all of our people in the four directions here, and Spirit kind of talking to me here, and you can keep the cameras going. It's okay. We're going to go ahead and say a prayer here for for all the world here. So if you all can bear along with me here. Heavenly Father God, Savior Jesus Christ, we come before you here this morning time, dear God, and relatives here asked me and my son here to come over here to say a word of prayer here at this time, dear God, and we're very grateful for you, for the wonderful way you work, the wonderful way you are. You created each and every one of us here with a reason, with a purpose here, dear God, to love one another, to help one another, to share the compassion and respect towards each other. That's how you intended us to be since the beginning of time. And our grandmas, our ancestors, way back there, our indigenous people, we've always lived by the rules and regulations that you gave us since the beginning of time. And we come to this time in history of mankind where you asked us to share with the world about our teachings, about our ways, how to help each other, how to love each other, how to support one another, to stand up in the face of atrocities, to stand up in the face of hatred and evil. And today, that's what you instilled in our relative Nathan Phillips, my brother Marcus, and all of our indigenous people that came to the nation's capital to stand up for our basic human rights. We have relatives throughout all these lands that are fighting for clean water to drink, fighting for clean air to breathe, clean food to eat, to have the ability to pray and use our medicines. Today, this morning, dear God, you made it possible here for the world to open up their eyes and see that it's time to unite together, to put you first. Everybody's talking about all these other issues, dear God, but they're forgetting that you're the issue. You're the one that's in control of this world, and it's time for our people to come together. So you bless these young people from this Catholic Church, each and every one of them, that they can open up their eyes. They're the leaders of generations. They're the ones that is going to bring peace on this earth. You bless these young people here that they can realize and see that they're in a world where we all have to come together in order to make America great, in order to make this world great again, dear God. We have to do it together. We have to do it with you. We have to put you first. So today, dear God, all these cameras, all these relatives here, we gather together for something good. We're showing our support and love to you, dear God, that you're the one here that's going to make a way. We got relatives out there. They're hurting. They're lost. They need help. So through my relative Nathan here, he stood strong. He sang prayers unto you, dear God, the way our ancestors has taught, dear Heavenly Father. So you bless our Umaha people here for our relative Nathan, standing up for them, the teachings that were instilled in us. You gave us all these teachings here, so we're standing strong song to tell people about you, that it's time that we come together and we turn to you. So I ask that you bless this Catholic Church here, you bless the leadership here, that they can open up their eyes, that they can use this opportunity to help, to educate people, to say that it's time for us to work together, to come together. So I ask that you bless all of these organizations, all these people to come together to find a way to unite as one, all nations, all one mind, one heart. So we come before you as humble servants of yours, and we give you all the praise and all the glory. And we ask that you bless this incident here that took place, that something good, something wonderful is going to come from it. And we give you all the praise and all the glory. And we say this through your Son's name, Jesus Christ, through these four directions, this Mother Earth, Father Sky, amen. Aho, matakiase.
Amen.
I'm going to ask that the cameras please step back a little bit, and we're going to have this pathway for our next speakers. Okay, and I want to thank our relatives for coming all the way from Oklahoma and opening up today with a prayer, because again, we're here as a ceremony to have respect. Now, I know there's a lot of smokers here. I'm a smoker. I smoke cigarettes. So I'm asking all of you that smoke to please take control of your cigarette butts and don't just throw it on the ground. There are trash cans around here. We want to leave this area better than how we found it. Okay, so at this next time, I'd like to introduce Guy Jones, and again, please step back a little bit so that we can have the next speaker. Thank you again, everybody. This is Mr. Guy Jones, and I'll allow him to continue to introduce himself.
My name is Guy Jones, like she said. I'm originally from the Standing Rock Reservation in South Dakota. I'm the great-grandson of Pezee. Pezee is the one who led the frontal charge against General George Armstrong Custer at the Little Bighorn. That's my grandfather. One of the things and I want to thank all of you that came here today, even those that are opposed to what's happening and going on. What we have here is an incident that took place, but it's a product of the sickness that is coming across this country, the sickness that is happening within our neighborhoods, within our communities. This sickness, all of us have a responsibility. I am Hunkpapa. Hunkpapa means that I have a responsibility, and Hunkpapa is my responsibility. Lakota is my language that the people speak, my people. That responsibility, all of us should gather and hold on to that responsibility and step up, because yes, we can make America great, but we have to get rid of the hate.
Yeah.
We have to get rid of that hate, that sickness that is dividing our communities. We can be building more walls.
Yeah.
These attitudes that are being put out there on social media, these attitudes that you see driving up and down this street, those are the attitudes that we have to stop. We must confront that hatred. We must confront all of that and let our voices be heard. Have respect for one another. Accept our differences. This country at one time was a country of innovators, inventors. We were leading the world. And what has happened today? We're constantly building walls. What are those walls? Those walls are all a symbol of that ignorance that is growing and that has infiltrated our communities and our schools and our churches and our families, even within our homes. We have to get rid of those. We have to step up and let our voice be heard. We have to do that. That is a responsibility that each and every one of us must embrace. So I go and I thank all of you for coming here today so that we can go and let our voices be heard. We were hoping that they would go, the diocese would take this opportunity and embrace this opportunity to open those doors for dialogue.
Yeah.
To open those doors for a better tomorrow. That was our hope and our dream and our prayer, that they would step up. But it's obvious that that isn't going to happen. That's what we need to happen. That's what needs to happen today. That's what needs to happen tomorrow, next week, and next month, and throughout the year, and in days to come. So all of us, as you go about your daily lives, as we leave here today, as we go about our daily lives, all of us, begin to listen to one another. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Can everybody please step back just a little bit? I'm sure with those lenses you can get excellent shots. Can you please step back? Thank you. Again, thank you, everybody. Our next speaker is Jacqueline Keeler. She's a well-known activist, and we're going to have her kind of walk through here, sir. Thank you. Yeah.
Hi, I actually am a journalist, and I've written a lot on these issues. And I have a piece coming out tomorrow in Sierra Magazine about, Taka, sorry. I'm a journalist, and I've written a lot about these issues. And I was stunned by what happened on Friday during the march. And as a parent, I know that children require guidance, and I do hope that the Diocese of Covington will consider having more.
Wish you would, because I got a lot to talk to him about.
Absolutely. And we're all trying to figure this out. I'm scared. I'm going through my stuff in my life, so I'm with you 1,000%. I don't want kids being threatened. No. That's all I don't want.
And it should have never happened.
I know.
That should have never happened.
I know. I got it.
A little further out so people can.
Ma'am, I'm standing on a public corner. Yeah.
Right.
I'm speaking to this gentleman who just spoke.
Right. And he wants you to move that way. Have some respect. Great. Have some respect. Thank you.
I don't fall. Yeah. Phone number?
Huh?
Can I have your phone number?
My phone number?
Yes.
513.
Hold on 1 second. I'm going to reach out. Let's sit down and have a cup of coffee.
That's good.
I'll buy a meal, and we'll just figure this out. And then this has to be done in this country.
Oh, yeah.
We're in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
We're in trouble.
We're in big trouble.
I know. I agree.
And and the thing that is this is that when you look at what's happening on a national level, nobody's talking.
Right.
And you know what? This country is ours.
And I know Donald Trump would love to sit down at a table with both of us and say, what can we do?
This is our country.
Right.
And it's the people.
Amen.
The people need to take back this country.
Amen. And
and
we'll work together to do it.
And we have to work together to do it.
Absolutely.
You're damn right we do.
Absolutely. And people that want to tear it down, we need to go and say, sit down, let's figure it out.
Yeah.
So they won't sit down.
No,
That's the problem.
Yeah.
We want everybody to sit. So God's right here with you and me both. 1,000%. And I know that I get it.
Yeah.
I get it 1,000. So I'm going to call, let's talk, sit down and figure out what we can do. And then we'll start an American movement.
Yeah. Right.
All right.
Let's take our country back.
Absolutely. I'll give you a call later today. Okay. All right. Thank you for your time.
What's your name,
sir? American. Okay. I'm American. Excuse me.
Are you related to this area?
Hey, sir.
Sir, are you a citizen of Covington? Or
Sir, no, I'm good. Mr. American, I just wanted to give him
They're complaining that someone got surrounded. It's like, that's what you guys do.
Yeah, surrounded and then punched. Just ask that Murray professor. Nobody here.
Nobody here.
Charles Murray?
Appreciate it.
He got punched. Bunch of stuff got set on fire first. Bunch of stuff gets set on fire.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
This kid is smart.
We're going to need some room for her to be able to walk down here.
That's literally violent.
I'm with the American Indian Movement, and I'm very proud to be here. There's a lot of important messages that are happening here. And I'm going to introduce Diane, who's Lipan Apache.
Carolina.
Carolina, excuse me.
No, it's okay. Dagote, Chi, Carolina, Chi, Chitle, Lepaing de. Hola, buenos días. Me llamo Carolina. Yo soy Lipana Apache del estado de Texas. Hello, my name is Carolina Castorino Santana, and I am Lipan Apache from the state of Texas of the Sun Otter clan. I am currently the executive director of the American Indian Center of Indiana, but I am as well a member of the Indiana-Kentucky chapter of AIM. Today I'm here for me, though. I'm not speaking for anyone but myself. I am going to express my concern because I do know Nathan Phillips. Uncle Nate is an elder. I have worked with him in the past when he had issues living in Michigan. He has been an adamant fighter and activist in our community and a very well-respected elder. But the disrespect that was shown to him on Friday has to be addressed. Now, I know there's a lot of spin that's being put out there right now about the other side of the story. We are well aware of the racist antics of the Hebrew Israelites. We have dealt with this for decades because they attack our existence as indigenous people on our land, as do MAGA hat-wearing, self-entitled, privileged children from racist communities. You are not going to excuse the racism of one by defending the racism of another. We are not here for that.
Right.
What happened, and everyone, I'm sure you've seen the multiple videos at this point, multiple angles. Our elder went in to defuse the situation, and regardless, yes, he walked into that space, but he was not being aggressive towards the group. And I think some speakers have already talked on this a little bit, and I know not everyone agrees. Wearing that hat is a symbol of hatred on native land. I do not care how you want to try to excuse that. When a president runs on a racist agenda, on a white supremacist agenda, you are supporting white supremacy by supporting him. There is no excusing that.
If you came here to hear us speak, let us speak.
It is not even about political lines. It has nothing to do with that. This is the most openly racist president since Andrew Jackson in our history.
Yes.
No wonder that is his hero who he idolizes. Another thing that is important, because what's going on right now, why is our government currently shut down? Because of a stupid border wall. Let me tell you this. Borders are white supremacist tools of oppression created by the invaders of this land. We did not have borders prior to colonization. The Mexicans and Central Americans who are seeking asylum in this country are indigenous, many of whom speak their indigenous languages still.
That's right.
For people who are here, the descendants of invaders and who benefit from white supremacy on a regular basis, to determine whether or not indigenous people can migrate on their own land is the epitome of white privilege.
That's right. Yes. Yes.
Now, the thing is, not everyone's going to attack you because you hold these racist views. You can always come away from that. There's always room for education. We don't want to spend our time yelling at people and having to exhaustingly defend our existence on a daily basis. We want you to learn. It is okay to admit that you are wrong. It is okay to admit that you have been bamboozled by your racist president. Yes. And then what's more disturbing, now I am a traditionalist. I do not acknowledge the Christian church or the Catholic church because I believe in my ancestors' way. I don't believe in the ways that were forced on our people. However, I did go to a Catholic church when I was younger because I was raised in two faiths. And I'm actually shocked. I would expect this behavior from maybe some right-wing evangelicals, but I thought Catholics presented themselves with a little bit more class.
Yeah.
But the thing is, here's the thing. When you have priests and nuns who go across this country actually fighting for immigrants' rights and the poor and the marginalized, you cannot allow representatives of your faith to behave this way. They have to be held accountable. Yes. Saying that these are just high schoolers is just like the saying, boys will be boys, and we're not accepting that in this day and age anymore either.
Right.
Okay, thank you. That's really cute. Anyway, so the issue is that they need to be educated. Right. It's not to demonize these kids, but they need the opportunity to be educated and to come out from the racist upbringing that they've had. Yeah. There is always hope for some. someone. But the chaperones in this instant do need to be held accountable. There is no excuse to allow children to approach groups like that and antagonize. There is no excuse for that. There should have been someone there to de-escalate the situation. And we have plenty of videos, sir, so thank you for your comment, that shows that chaperones were not doing their job. There were chaperones engaging in the behavior as well. They need to be held accountable. And that's what we're asking for. The whole idea that there was a group of angry Indians that were going to come and harass students is insane and absurd, and shows what is at the very core of this: fear.
Yes. Mascot.
That is what all of this is about, is fear. The only way to dismantle racism is to first dismantle that fear of the unknown, of what is not like you. And so I just want to tell everyone, we are not here in a space to demonize anyone. We are here to encourage understanding. But that means having to reconcile with uncomfortable truths. So if hearing that your complacency and white supremacy and the oppression of indigenous and black people in this country is making you uncomfortable, that's great. Because the only way you can grow is from your discomfort. Carolina Castorino Santana.
How do you spell your name, please?
C-A-R-O-L-I-N-A, and then C-A-S-T-O-R-E-N-O -S-A-N-T-A-N-A.
Are you a Covington resident?
No, I'm not. I'm actually from Indiana, but because of this, there is no American Indian Center or official organization other than the activist group, so I wanted to make sure that we were all standing in solidarity because we represent this area of Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky together.
And do you have a position in this group? What's your title?
We continue with the rally, so.
Yeah, I'll be happy to answer some more questions later, but I am here. I do have an official position, but I'm here for myself, speaking for my community.
Okay, so we have another speaker, and I actually agree with everything that this sister said, except for one point. The Catholic Church has a history of dealing with Native people and indigenous people in the wrong way, starting with the doctrine of discovery and how this United States was founded. Okay, if you were not Christian, you were an inferior race or a subhuman race. And this doctrine is still, it has not been challenged. It's still an operating mechanism in the United States Supreme Court. Okay, that came from the Papal Bulls. That's a Catholic document. And that has been embraced internationally and in colonizing indigenous people worldwide. Okay, Catholic Church also put Native people in boarding schools.
That's right.
There were Catholic boarding schools. Okay, the Catholic Church, oh man, canonized a freak by the name of Junipero Serra who practically decimated California Native tribes. They just canonized this fucker, okay? A couple years ago. That made it, what was the international message in that? The international message was white supremacy. Our God is better than your God. You guys are still inferior to us. Now, I'm not surprised that these children are being taught this kind of bullshit at their Catholic school, okay? And I worry that there's not going to be any accountability for these kids. Because what happens when kids are not accountable and punished for what they do, when they bully, when they harass, and they gaslight this shit? What happens to that?
They become president.
That's right. And we have a very bleak future if these kids go unpunished. And yes, it's a teaching moment, and there are good ways to punish and still teach. And when I say punish, I'm talking about go sit in a corner and think about the shit you did for a while. You know what I mean? Take away their fucking cell phones for a little while. You know, take some responsibility. So with that said, I'm gonna have our next speaker. Thomas wanted to say something very quickly, and then we have another speaker by the name of Jerry from the Dene Nation.
I just want to say briefly, these hecklers we have here are proof of the racism Nathan Phillips encountered in D.C. The more they heckle us, they are the exact proof of what we're talking about. American Indians cannot speak for ourselves without being interrupted by white people. We're tired of it. Okay.
I'm going to speak very briefly. I was supposed to speak in this spot here. I've been speaking for the past, I don't know, 3 or 4 days. My name is Jerry Neary. I'm with the the Cincinnati Greater Cincinnati Native American Coalition, and I am going to give my time to Ryan Stukes, who has an opposing view. And the reason why I'm going to let him speak is because I want to give him the respect that I would want other people to give us. So I ask you to listen to him for a couple of minutes, hear what he has to say, and treat him with some respect, and then we're going to go on with what we're doing. Ryan?
No, actually, we're going to have Mona speak first.
Okay.
Okay, because we're in charge of this show. This is an indigenous format. Okay, and so he can speak in just a little bit. Mona, come on up, please.
We always have to make room for you.
Thank you.
So go away.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me?
He didn't ask that.
My name is Mona Jenkins, and I am on the steering committee for Mass Action for Black Liberation, formerly Black Lives Matter Cincinnati. I am here today and have been honored to have been asked by the elders of the Native community to be here. And I stand in solidarity. I want to mention something that a lot of folks may not be aware of or may not be putting at the forefront of the minds, is the trauma that has resulted from this incident from a few days ago. But it didn't just start there. For black and brown folks, it started 400 years ago when we were stolen from our land and brought here to be slaves, to be brought on stolen land. So this history of racism, this history of trauma,
you know you have,
did not just begin a few days ago. And for some of us, it occurs 365 days out of the year.
Yeah.
The indigenous community, the local Native chapters, they are asking that this racism be addressed, that there be conversations, that there be an understanding. They are asking for healing, and Mass Action will support them in joining in on these conversations. And these conversations are difficult, but we can't ignore the fact that racism exists. We cannot ignore the fact that when black, brown folks see a t-shirt or a hat that says "Make America Great Again," that we are traumatized. You cannot ignore the fact that when someone says we want to build a wall to refuse refugees their safety, something that we were supposed to have here, their freedom of speech, their freedom of religion, that we are traumatized. We don't want to hear that some folks are allowed to say, "Oh, well, I have free speech," when that free speech is causing trauma. We need to be aware of this. Some of us want to ignore this, but we are at a point that there needs to be change. We need to address this head on. We have to have these conversations about racism. We have to have these conversations about privilege. We have to talk about white supremacy regardless of how difficult it is.
Yeah.
We have to talk about the trauma that is happening. For the last 4 days, conversations, the Native community have tried and made attempts to start these conversations and say we are opening the doors. Let us begin these discussions. Let us begin that healing. And it has been ignored. We can't ignore this.
No.
What happened the other day, and this didn't just happen the other day. Let's go back to Charlottesville. Okay? Heather Heyer, say her name. She lost her life because she believed in the right for people to exist in the way that they are, regardless of race, color, ethnicity, religion, beliefs, sexual orientation, trauma. We didn't start the conversations then. Are we going to start them now? Because is there going to be another incident that happens, and then we are doing this again and again, and again, people are traumatized. Whether it's the Native American community, whether it's the Black community, LGBTQ, who else has to continue to endure this trauma? I can go on. I'm going to stop. But again, mass action for Black liberation. We stand in solidarity with the Native and Indigenous community, local, nationally, globally. And if you need anything, please feel free to ask, and we will be there in support. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we're going to have, Jerry's decided to finish what he was going to start. And again, I want to apologize if I'm kind of coming off as a bulldog, but the opposing people that are mascot supporters and that believe the gaslighting bullshit that's going on in trying to turn this story around and make it seem like our elder Nathan Phillips was the antagonizer, they have plenty, they can have their own rally, they can do their own thing because they're getting plenty of space time right now. This is our space time right now. Yeah? This is our time. At our moment. And I want to make sure everybody knows that this doesn't have to be the one and only time. We can continue to organize this because this is not an isolated incident. This happens every day. It gets no media attention. Okay, so we need to continue on this. We need to hold people accountable, not just these students, because there's a lot of students across this country that do the same thing, and because they have white privilege and entitlement, get away with doing it. All right? So again, I want to remind people we can organize another one, and at the end of this, we're actually going to be sending a delegation to speak to the diocese. So stay tuned on that. We'll see how that goes, right? Anyways, I want to introduce Jerry to finish, because he had some powerful things to say, and I'm so glad that he understood my position on that. Thank you. Come on, Jerry.
Yes. Thank you. Again, my name is Jerry Neary. I'm with the Greater Cincinnati Native American Coalition. I want to say thank you to all the organizations, including the Poor People's Campaign, Kentucky, and the National Chapter, American Indian Movement of Ohio, and the National American Indian Movement. A lot of the churches and the synagogues, the Clifton Mosque, and all the alumni that have also sent us in letters and given us calls about their support. We don't have a PR firm out of Louisville that can scrub our internet history, and that can, we don't have millions of dollars to spend on changing the narrative of what happened. Usually when something happens in the Native American community, when something happens to someone like Amanda Webster, who was murdered in Florence, that I wish the amount of news coverage and the amount of people that come out to talk about this, that came out to talk about the incident in D.C., I wish they would have covered what happened to Amanda Webster.
Her court is 3 p.m. today.
3 p.m. today. The young indigenous Native woman who was murdered not too far from here. And she wasn't the only one. You know, we have thousands, literally thousands, the highest rate of indigenous women who are being murdered and go missing every year. And a couple of dozen kids create this, something like this environment, and the media goes crazy. people are honking their horns. You know, when our system, as our system is breaking down around us on either side, when our system is breaking down around us on either side, we are so caught up in the media, in our houses, in entertainment, we don't recognize what's happening. You know, we don't recognize what's happening to us. And then when our youth fall apart, when our youth do something, we wring our hands and we want to say, look at these kids. Look what these kids have done. But they are a symptom of a bigger problem. Yes. And that problem is us. It's the adults. The adults in this community, the adults in my community, the adults in this church. And we're pointing the finger. Wow. Okay, that wasn't my fault. No one knows me. The issue is this. The issue is that there's plenty of room for blame. There's plenty of room for blame, and I'm sure on both sides they're going to continue to find that fault. But what we need to do is we need to find solutions. We need to find a way to come to a place where we can start helping with the criteria, with the schools, in teaching in the schools, in writing the narrative so that we can correct this. You know, everyone's out here yelling at each other and pointing fingers at everybody, and no one has solutions. If you're out here pointing a finger, if anyone is out here pointing a finger, the first thing you need to do is figure out a solution. Someone asked me, they said, when you go out, what do you want? If someone was going to give you something that you want, when you go in here and you talk to the diocese, what do you want? What are you asking for? And we all stood around and stared at each other and didn't know, scratched our heads. We don't know. Well, if we don't know what we want, then why are we doing this? What we want is we want to find a way to create and continue working with them on the curriculum in the schools. What we want is we want the opportunity to sit at the table. We're not even invited to sit at the table with the decisions that are being made about something that happened in our community. We can't be a part of the conversation if we're not invited to dinner. And that's what we're asking. We're asking for that same respect. We don't have the PR. We don't have somebody that can run around, you know, and do these things for us. We have to do it on our own. Again, I appreciate all the support that we have received. I am looking forward to a way to speak with the diocese, to continue to work towards creating curriculum, not only with these schools, with other schools in our community. We have plenty of volunteers. We have plenty of people that are ready to help, but we need the opportunity to talk to somebody. We have brothers from all over that need that opportunity to speak to the administrators and the diocese so that we can find a solution other than just a press release and lawyers. Thank you.
Okay, we have a couple more speakers. Our next speaker is Ruben Herrera, and we're very proud that he drove all the way from Columbus to be here and to be one of our speakers. Come on down, Ruben. You can formally introduce yourself.
Gracias. Buenos días. Buenos días, mi gente. Woo! Good morning, my people. I come today to honor those who have showed up in this cold day, this cold sacred morning, on the very sacred land that we stand on beneath these bricks. Is the dirt and the rock and the earth of our people. Above us is the sky and the clouds and the wind. of our people. We're here, I think, or I'm here today, almost shamefully, from a city called Columbus, Ohio. And I live there, but I'm well aware that that very name and the very honoring of that person, even in our history, by statues, is honoring colonialism, hatred, rape, and the taking of the stealing, violation of our land and of our people. I know this because I am an Aztec. I come from the Aztec people. I'm a Tejano, where we didn't cross the border, but the border crossed us. You know that. But don't fear, my people. Don't fear. We cannot have fear. I work with a group called Mi Gente as well, a national group that believes in the intersectionality of all people. Because we may be undocumented, but we are unafraid. Undocumented? Unafraid. Undocumented? Unafraid. Indigenous? Unafraid. Indigenous? Indigenous? Women? Unafraid. Women? Unafraid. Queer? Unafraid. Queer? Unafraid. Trans? Unafraid. Brown? Unafraid. White? Unafraid. Black? Black? Unafraid. Black? Unafraid. Black? Unafraid. Black? Unafraid. We must say that. Yes, sir. We must always say that and let it be heard on the streets of Covington, of Cincinnati, of Columbus even. At the White House. At the White House. At the White House. My people, we cannot be afraid. We cannot be afraid because as someone said, even better than I have, someone said this before, it's fear. It's fear. It's turning things around, even here. Right? I see people already here trying to turn things around. But you know what? That's been our history for years. We know those tricks. We know the truth. We know it. So we have to continue. Those of us who come together, look at this crowd, right? Look at the people. But we need more people. We need more people. We need you to show up. We need you to do things, right? It's about posting. I post on social media myself, but it's got to be more than that, right? That's how we're going to move forward. That's how we're going to move forward. So many people talk about hatred, but let's not be afraid and let it be known that we are people of love. We are people of love, right? That's right, and we care. We care, and we can. In Spanish, one of my mentors, I was a migrant farm worker in California. One of my mentors was Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta. Don't forget the women in front of the men, right? Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta. And remember, they saying it was Dolores that brought it up, not Cesar. May he rest in peace. She would say, sí, say that. Sí, 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 se puede. Sí se puede. Sí se puede. Sí se puede. To the people. Power to the people. To the people. Power to the people. La victoria siempre. All right.
You know, I was up there and somebody just asked me, why does the left always interrupt us? And why are we not allowed to interrupt you guys right now? And I said, I don't do that. And he goes, well, why does the left always do that? Well, I'm not left. And he goes, why does the left always do that? I don't know. I don't do that. You know? So I am not responsible for how other people behave, but I can understand their anger. You know, I can understand their anger when our brothers and sisters, you know, shout out, like what happened the other day on that incident with those kids. You know, there's a lot of angry Native people about what happened with that incident and how our elder was treated. You know, and we can see it, we can hear it, we can feel it. We have a right to feel that. Are we acting on that? No. We're all reasonable people because we have our traditions that we go to and keep us in line. Because we are prayerful people. But we have a lot of good reasons to be angry, right? Right. And we can use these moments as teaching moments, kind of like what's happening right now. We're working with each other, we're teaching, because we can only move forward together. So somebody asked me, like, why are you guys bringing up the wall? Because those kids brought up the wall. And they were wearing those hats. And they were chanting the wall, the wall, the wall. And they were wearing those hats. And now they're backed up by Trump. So again, it's being gaslighted. There's a huge line of division happening here. So I'm going to bring on our next speaker. Lance Soto is with the American Indian Movement, Indiana, Kentucky. And I'm looking for him. Lance Soto. Lance, come on down. Sorry.
Aqua, come yet, from yeah. My name is Lance Soto.
Are you okay? I'm so sorry. Are you okay? Your chair? I should have stayed in my chair.
Watch the land out of the west, sir.
Oh gosh, thank you. You're so nice. I don't like mine.
While I have your attention,
if I could say 2 words.
As well as the racist
but you want to keep it about America's great again.
Let's not go back and forth.
You want to keep it about Trump being racist.
Trump is a racist.
Your perceptions mean nothing.
Fantastic.
Perceptions mean nothing.
Sir, I hope you have a great day.
I hope you do too. Quit lying.
Bye.
Yeah, you're lying.
Can we just relax?
How you doing?
We see you, Nazi! We see you! Nazi! Nazi bastard!
Hey, can you all get back up on the sidewalk, please? Back up on the sidewalk, please.
He's disturbing the peace. Are you going to give him a ticket? Okay, give him a ticket.
Ma'am, we got to get back on
Give
the
him a
sidewalk.
ticket.
Ma'am, you're also going to get a ticket as well because you're blocking the sidewalk. Can you please just step over to the sidewalk?
Give him a ticket. Please.
I'll talk to you.
Okay, I want to see you talk to him.
Ma'am, the light is green.
Yes, it is.
Can you please step back on?
I would like to see you.
If you'd like, can you please step back on the sidewalk so I can talk to him?
I'm willing to get a ticket.
Hey, can you folks get back on the sidewalk, please? You're blocking traffic. Ma'am, can you get back on the sidewalk?
He's going to go talk to him. That's what I want.
You're blocking traffic. Let's get on the sidewalk,
I
please.
appreciate that.
Step on the sidewalk.
Because that's why he's doing his job, and I appreciate him doing his job. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Gentleman in the
Bless you. Please step back on the sidewalk, guys.
Glad to see these officers.
We are not your mascot. We are not your Four, we want all Covington Catholic High School staff that was at the event, we want them fired. These terms are non-negotiable.
My name is John Hubbard. My name in Lakota is Nagiyuha. I'm a Yankee Sioux. My family's from North Dakota. I would like to honor you all and our elder Nathan Phillips with a song. But before I do that, I would like to remind people and make you aware that Nathan was carrying on a tradition long known known to aim.
For a YouTube channel, just me.
Yeah. There you go.
All right, I'm gonna move out.
Thank you for our elders. Thank you for being here. And I would also like to remind you that people that are doing the right thing don't need PR firms to spin the actions of their bratty children. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to get ready to wrap this up. We have one young person that wants to say something, then we're going to sing the AIM song, and then we're going to be getting this delegation together to go over to the diocese. And the reason why I stood in front of that truck is because nobody has a right to try to disrupt what we're trying to do. You know, and I'm glad to see that the officer finally was willing to go talk to the freak that was disturbing the peace.
I was here.
Which is a legal action.
I would take care of that.
Ah, there we go. Okay, so, you want to say a few things before we close up?
Before we close up, I want to make sure everybody knows we're willing to do this every month until the Archdiocese opens a dialogue with us about holding the students accountable, holding the staff accountable, holding the principal accountable, holding the superintendent accountable. Everybody needs to be held accountable, and they need to teach these children the truth.
That's what does accountability look like to you? Do you want to see the kids expelled?
I want to see the chaperones fired. I want to see the students. I would like to see them expelled myself.
What do you think about the doxing that's happened of the kids? About their names publicly being released?
I didn't.
Right now, first, I think you should ask that.
We have nothing to do with that. Your piece is not ready yet.
Okay, so
they did that to themselves.
Okay, we have a young person who wants to say something, and you know, I really want to invite actually all of you to come with us over to the diocese. You know, and I think that would make a very powerful statement if we all walked over there together. What do you guys think? Excellent. Okay. So go ahead and have introduce yourself and say a few things. Then we're gonna have our relatives here close us out. Yeah. All right. Say it loud.
I'm Quinn. I'm from Antioch College in Yellow Springs. I just wanted to say freedom of speech does not mean freedom of repercussions. It is completely unacceptable that we live in a society where this behavior is deemed as childish behavior and it is simply passed on as they don't know any better because they're children, while we have black teens shot in the streets every week, every single week, and they're told that they're supposed to have known better.
Right there.
Yeah. No one is illegal on stolen land.
Yeah, that's right.
Was tun Sie diese heute? Angst ist niemals ein Faktor.
Say,
Good evening to each and every one of you. My name is Ishtakaba. I'm Sasitawa, Wapento, Dakota, Tanawana Seneca, Absentee Shawnee, and Sacafux. And it sure does feel good to be here in this part of the country. Right here is where my Shawnee people come from. This is where we originate. You know, seeing all these hills and seeing all these trees and all this snow, it sure makes me miss, you know, where our Shawnee people came from. So I just kind of say that. And about that issue, me and myself, I'm a young person. I'm probably just a couple years older than some of those other boys. And you know, me and myself, growing up in this modern day and age as being a modern day Native American, you know, us indigenous people, we're so used to this kind of hate, this kind of racism, that it's kind of a norm in my everyday walk of life. During that march, you know, we've seen all kinds of people in those hats all over the city, you know, saying different things, you know, saying this, saying that, trying to discourage us, you know, whether it was the MAGA kids or the Israelites or just pretty much any other non-native walking down the street. You know, it's such a norm for me as a young person, as a young Native American, just driving by all day long. You know, it's kind of the norm for myself. You know, when I saw that video, when I saw those kids, you know, I wasn't shocked, I wasn't surprised. I'd seen that all my life through high school because of my long hair, because of my name. You know, I seen that. I see it every day. I see it at work, at my job. I see it every single day. You know, it's part of my life. It's almost part of this culture. So you know, I think it's real interesting, real neat, you know, real wonderful, real special that, you know, we're coming together, that we're here. The one thing me and those kids have in common right now is our belief in God. You know, whether it's through this church, you know, I go to a church as well. I go to our Native American church, you know, and me and myself, you know, I always tell myself when I see kids like that, you know, mocking me, telling me, you know, different things, if only they knew about our culture, if only they knew about our people, if only they knew about our songs, if only they knew, you know, if only they knew about themselves exactly, you know, if only they knew, you know, there wouldn't be any of that. There wouldn't be any of that hate, you know. This will probably be one of the few, if not the only times they'll encounter a Native American like our relative Nathan. You know, we're one of the smallest minorities here in the United States, you know, and I don't blame them for not knowing anything about our people. You know, I didn't know anything. I didn't hear anything about our indigenous people when I went to high school. You know, there was one page in our history book about Native Americans, and it was when Columbus came over here. So that was kind of it. You know, that was it. Yes. And you know, me and myself, you know, like everyone's saying, I think it's a wonderful time to educate, to learn, to grow from this experience. You know, I'm not going to sit here and hate on these kids. You know, me and myself, I want something good for each and every one of them. I want them to grow and to learn from this experience, to be able to look back and, hey, you know, I'm not the same person I was. You know, I want this year to be good, 2019. So I just kind of say it like that, real simple like, you know, like I said, I'm still just a young person. I excuse all my elders. Ask all my elders to forgive me for talking in front of you. I'm just a young person myself. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. You know, I just kind of say it like that in a good way, in a good feeling to each and every one of you. Say it like that, you know, and then.
All right, brother.
Again, they asked us to close it up, this part of the event here, and somebody said, are you here for the protest? And I didn't think this was a protest here. If it is, it's a protest for what's right. It's a protest for God. It's a protest to help each other and love each other. And there's an issue that everybody kind of forgot about or they're not addressing, but one of the things that those children were doing, they were mocking the Maori people in New Zealand, and by their actions, those were ceremonial movements that our indigenous people from New Zealand have, and I've had the honor and privilege to be around them, and they have a very, very spiritual connection to their movements, and it was very disturbing to see that school and those kids to mock and mimic something that's sacred and something that's very special to the Maori people. So I hope that the Maori people will stand up in solidarity with us as well. So we're gonna close up, and got an elder right here. Oh, maybe you want to say something? That's how we are when our elders come around. We give them respect, and just like Nathan, you know, that's something that this world needs to pay attention to, respect our elders, those that are older than us. So there's a lot of wonderful things that can come from this evil that took place. Aho.
Hatsoma, Autse Kaiwa, Kopeon Kui. My name is Albert. I'm of the Kiowa Nation of Oklahoma, and I live in Fort Thomas, Kentucky. What happened in Washington, D.C., we've all heard and we've all seen. And what happened to Nathan Phillips? I've known Nathan for going on 15, 20 years now. I remember when his wife passed away of cancer 5 years ago. I remember his children. Nathan is an honorable man. I came here today and I had people calling me uncle as a sign of respect. There's a guy Jones up here, I call him uncle as well as a sign of respect. And Uncle Nathan was treated in a way that should not have been by anyone. It doesn't matter what color they were, what political faction they were. It was disrespect, straightforward.
That's right.
If I was there, it wouldn't have never happened. But it did. People are really quick to blame the children. But it was those chaperones, the teachers, the education that church gives those children to disrespect people of color, to disrespect people of different nations. Because we speak different languages does not mean that we are hateful towards each other. I love each and every one of you, and so is my brothers and sisters here. Love each and every one of you. But this young man wants to say, I stood there and just smiled because I was afraid. But it was Uncle Nathan who was afraid because he got between two warring parties, yelling back and forth at each other.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. Like our Uncle John Hubbard said, the American Indian movement was there and singing that song and got between those two crowds to try to bring peace. And because of his peace, because trying to bring peace, they attacked him verbally. We, the indigenous people of this land, as my brother Lance said, we demand that they apologize to our uncle, to our people, and to our land.
Yes.
The song that we're about to sing is a song given to the American Indian movement. It is a song that brings all the people together, all nations together. When Native people hear this song, they know the power of So we're going to do that now, and we're going to walk over that way. They're not going to let us in. They're not going to speak to us because they're afraid of the truth.
That's right. Woo, woo.
And until this gets solved, the American Indian movement will be here on their doorstep every day.
Yeah.
Every hour. Change. My brother said it the best. Change.
Hey, I would like to say that this song is what Nathan was singing.
Yeah, that's right.
over there in a respectful way through traffic, unless they're honking horns to try to disrupt our group. Okay? Just making that point. So that's the diocese over there. So we're going to be crossing the street. So
this guy's praying right here. I'm going to pray along with you here.
Let's all do that.
Yeah, we're all going to join in prayer here with this relative here. Let me grab your hand here. We'll all grab hands.
Yeah, not worth it. And that happens. I don't know how
You're a God of love. You're a God of understanding. You're a God of patience.
Look at these stupid ass fuckers talking shit. Well, I'll put it to you this way. They're only doing that because you got cops and everything on the street. You think they do that shit? You think they do that shit? My man. Same as it ever was. Oh, man.
Come together and unite. That's how wonderful you are. That's how powerful you are. You can spread your love to this world here. Let something good, something wonderful come from this. We give you all the praise and all the glory. We say all this in your Son's name, Jesus Christ, through these four directions. This Mother Earth, Father Sky. Amen. Aho, Mutafia. Ho! Thank you to all.
Don't hit me with your drum against her, please. Spare me.
Hey guys, you want to tell me what you're here for?
To stand up for them boys. They were up there to march against the murder of unborn babies, and that included Indian babies. Any babies you want to name. And they was accosted first.
First Amendment rights. Young guy was accosted for wearing a hat. Sadly, the media is proliferating that whole thing. Nothing would have happened if he wasn't wearing that hat.
So you're saying it was a political agenda where the media covered it that way?
I'm a firm believer.
Fake news.
I'm a firm believer that the biggest enemy of the country is our media. It's not the biggest enemy, it is the loudest part of the enemy is our media.
Where'd you get that drum?
It's Buffalo Skin Drum. Purchased it from a, might as well give them a plug, The Living Drums, Chicago.
Nice. So you're here to protest these guys?
Our organization was formed because elderly white people and young people were catching flack for supporting Trump.
What organization is this? Boots on the ground. Bikers for Trump.
Unless these boys want to go to information, they don't need to know about their
I
Just like
don't walk around challenging them, but nobody tries to take my vest off. They may go up to a 15-year-old kid, knock his hat off.
Every school kid needs to know their stuff. No, there you go.
But pretty much,
here, you know, now when I go to ATM,
we support the man that's saving our country.
Like, hold it. I live here. This is my country. New country, new language. I took Spanish in 7th grade.
Great. And what do you think about some of these signs that you're seeing here? You know, and some of they're saying that they're protesting things like white supremacy and things like that. What would you say to them if you had the opportunity?
DNA shows that the indigenous American, Native American, whatever they choose to call them, DNA shows they originated from Siberia, Mongolia. They came across the frozen Bering Strait. There's still proof that Caucasians predate any red man on this continent for 10,000 years. Probably some of the most vicious human beings on this continent were red men. Red men still killed more red men than the U.S. Cavalry combined, but they tend to forget that stuff. They tend to forget certain tribes actually helped us gain our independence from Britain. All stuff I learned in Catholic education.
All right, thank you. About your sign here?
Sure.
So, are you here to protest this protest going on over here?
No, not protesting anybody. I'm here to support.
Okay. And you're supporting the high school kids?
I'm supporting the boys.
Great. So, what do you think about this protest over here then?
I think it's a wonderful display of free speech.
Okay. Do you have any? Do you agree with their? I guess you don't agree with their standpoint. Then I would say.
I'm here to support the boys. I think everybody needs to watch the hour-plus long video and come to their own conclusions about what really happened, and stop believing mainstream media, and learn what mainstream media is really truly all about.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
brings you here, miss?
Protesting for my roots. I drove 3 hours for this. Hell yeah. Tell them how you're Native American. Oh, I'm Native American. I'm here because I went to a Catholic school and I was bullied on for my race. So when I heard about this, I was like, I'm driving 3 hours to come because it really hits home. So here I am.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Like I said, I survived Catholicism, and I'm a recovering.
It's so different here. Like, I mean, there were lots of Catholic schools where I grew up.
I just
just think that this is something that needs to be like addressed. They hired a PR firm.
Yeah.
They're trying to spin the narrative that we're a dangerous group. They allegedly closed down the school because they were afraid of our presence, yet they have students parked out here to be a part of this. So they're not that afraid of their students' lives. And then they placed a man praying, holding a rosary, to make it look like a mob of angry Indians is coming towards him. And that's important because the family of the child in question hired a PR firm to make this happen, to make this image. And we need to fight back against that. We are here for accountability. We're not here for blood.
Well,
well, I'm gonna leave that to you, sir. But yeah,
please, but I mean, like, it's pretty obvious that you're not doing Alcatraz today, for fuck's sake.
Right. Exactly.
What organization are you with?
I'm co-chair of the American Indian Movement of Indiana and Kentucky.
Okay. So where do you live? Like
Louisville.
Louisville. Okay. Your feelings over the last few days. What are your feelings now?
Locked out, seeking dialogue. We want a resolution.
So you want to meet with the diocese?
Yes.
But you couldn't because they were closed today.
No.
Have you reached out to them in other forms? Okay. Do you have any feelings right now? Like, did your mind change at all about that video between seeing the short clip and then the longer clip? Like, did you have any?
In fact,
what are your
the full video showed that Nathan was trying to be a peacemaker and those children attacked him. And to the point that one of the children tore his clothes off in front of the Lincoln Memorial. The chaperones should have been fired. They should be fired for even letting that happen.
So you feel they were mocking Mr. Phillips and taunting him and making fun of him?
And dancing and singing and chanting and yes.
So what would you like to see from the children?
From the children? I don't blame this on the children. I blame this on the adults. They are charged with overseeing the children. Where was the supervision? We want to have a dialogue with them about teaching the children the right way to treat other people.
They say it was a school chant, but you don't see it that way.
No, they were mocking. I heard kids tomahawk chop. That's not part of their school chant. That's false.
Of the haka as well. That's disrespectful.
No. You don't want my phone number?
Yeah, that would be good. Sorry.
Okay.
Let me know if you need it.
Well, yeah, because they're appropriating Maori culture by mocking a traditional performance known as the haka. And so even in that, they're wrong. And now I think that every student is going to be aware of that? No, but adults are in charge here. Adults allowed this to happen. Adults are allowing them to be corrupted by racist ideology and think that it's okay to disrespect people of other colors. So, I mean, that in itself, stop disrespecting the Maori as well with the sumo chant, as they say.
Talk about the nativity scene with all white people and a token black kids. No brown people in the Middle East, apparently.
No. Yeah, I went to Catholic school for my last 2 years of high school.
Where'd that place you from?
Did you get a shot, like, showing the juxtaposition between this side of the street and this side of the street?
I think he's one of those who thinks he's Cherokee, which I get those calls every day. But 216s. I'm Native American from Texas. I'm Native American from Mexico. Therefore, I speak multiple languages. And it's amazing that the people who, when they think I'm Apache, how polite they are, but if they think I'm Mexican, how rude they are. And it's always the people who have the more racist ideas that want to claim heritage to Native American ancestry. And I'm like, that's not okay. It doesn't exempt you of your racism to other groups of color. But everyone has like a family lore about their great-grandmother being a Cherokee princess. There's no such thing as a Cherokee princess. There's no such thing as royalty in Native American tribes. And it's always a woman, so I don't know if they thought there was a whole tribe of Cherokees waiting for Europeans to come over and marry, but almost every time it's debunked, and it's just a story that has been passed down, and that does not give people, kind of like carte blanche to disrespect people of other colors and nations. So that's what I'm guessing is the case over there. I can't say for certain, but that's what my guess is. Why he's holding a drum, he's going to try to claim Native American heritage while supporting Trump and the racist actions of the children. So. Oh, just crosswalk. Okay. Lance, is it a no-go?
Oh yeah, the diocese is a no-go.
Okay. Isn't it supposed to be like open for people who want to come in and ask questions?
I certainly hope for that, but they also closed down Covington Catholic High School.
That's what I'm saying, but they have students out here. You see that?
Yeah. The letters. So Covington Catholic High School is closed. Covington Latin right here is closed, and then the
because
diocese.
They're scared of Indians.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because of a Facebook event, basically.
Wow.
We can't gather peacefully and prayerfully, because we're a threat. And that's what we need to talk about.
Yeah.
My existence is not a threat.
Thank you. That's why I'm very disturbed by the image of the man holding the rosary with us approaching. That was staged.
Damn.
That was staged.
Brian? Matt? Sorry, man.
What?
It's been a long time.
Nice talking to you.
You're a little bit late. But that's where we're going. Pepper pod.
You guys plan anything else? You guys plan anything else?
Just if anybody wants to have open dialogue, obviously the goal is to speak with the Archdiocese. I think that's what most of the organizers and speakers here have wanted. There's nothing really planned. It's just we demand accountability, and our elder deserves an apology. So that's the big thing that's going on right now.
And there'll be more.
Yeah.
There'll be more organization coming up soon as time goes by. Really all we want is a seat at the table.
It's not right for a privileged group of people to be able to hire a PR firm to spin this to make it look as if they are innocent. They are not innocent. Yes, they are minors, and ultimately it's their parents and the chaperone's fault for their behavior, but they're far from innocent. And like I've said, I have teenage children. I guarantee you my teenage children would not go into an area where anyone of an ethnicity or disability or different sexual orientation was being harassed, and they would engage. They would not. So we can't just say it's because of their age and that they're teenagers. They have to be held accountable as well.
Chaperones, school administration.
Well, yeah, they were wearing school paraphernalia. You represent the school. So.
President Trump is, he engages in a lot of that.
Oh, wow.
He did, yeah.
Well, I don't know if that's true, but...
It's true. I taught it in an Appalachian
What is
studies
that?
course at the University of Kentucky.
What is that?
That the Ku Klux Klan came out of the Southern Democratic Party in the Reconstruction era.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So it's definitely political.
Well, let's talk about civil rights.
But I think about the thing, going back to DC, is that people see different things because of their experience. And I saw it as a white person.
saw it. We may do.
Okay. You know where the Mexican restaurant is that we all go to? Oh, yeah.
If we can't bring everyone together for prayer,